Okay, we're about 3 weeks in, so just a little recap of what we've done so far. So far this Lent, we've opened up a conversation with God. And the topic of that conversation is trust, mainly the trust or the lack of trust that exists between us and Him. We all have a little bit of both. And we're doing that because if we really want to stop doing the things that break our relationship with Him, there has to be trust in that relationship. Because He is He who is, the fire of reality itself. Whatever He says is the truth, because He is the truth in Himself. But if we don't trust Him, then if what He says contradicts something that we want, then we're going to choose to separate ourselves from Him in favor of that thing that we want. Something that we think is going to bring us more happiness in the moment than He will. This is temptation. This is the nature of temptation. It's a trust issue. And it works, frankly. We fall for it all the time because we're habituated to believing partial truths and doubting God's integrity. That's the fall. And we're fallen. And in our fallen state, as a consequence of original sin, we're separated from relationship with God. We just don't know Him that well. We think we know Him because we know stuff about Him, but knowing somebody and knowing about somebody are two very different things, yeah? What's the problem with all this? You can't trust somebody that you don't know, right? You got to know Him. So we find ourselves, just by being born, already in a position that leans toward not trusting God. So we took the first major movement in the process of getting to know Him last week, and we can take this movement wherever we're at in our journey with Him, and in honest humility admitted, unworried, in prayer, that we just didn't know Him that well, but that we wanted to. There's a desire there. That's good stuff. Because there's an openness of heart there. There's an invitation of the heart. There's the freedom to allow God to just be who He really is. Because we don't approach Him in that position very often. We approach Him like He's got to perform for us, or He's got to give us things, or He's got to change something. In this way, He just gets to show up in our prayer. That's the beginning of a deeper relationship. When we show God that we're there for Him, that we're just in it for Him, Himself. That's the interior space where all these false images of Him that we've learned over the course of our lives begin to fade. They begin to seem less plausible. Okay, so that's where we're at so far. What's the next movement here? The next movement is beautiful because it's the natural consequence of coming to know anyone. We become aware of their own goodness as a unique person. Every single person is totally unique. Parents, you know this better than anyone. You have kids. It's not like God gives you like kid A and then kid B and then kid C, and they're all basically kind of the same. And they're wildly different right out of the box. They're wildly, wildly unique. And so I'm sure that you can see in their uniqueness that they're uniquely good. And they learn from you, especially initially from mom, that that's the truth. their goodness is reflected back to them in your love. They have no other way of learning that they're good. This is how God sees us. Every single one of us. He sees us firstly and primarily in the goodness of our own unique existence. Or another way of saying it is he just sees us as we are, as we actually are. The problem is, sometimes, maybe a lot of the time, we don't see ourselves that way. We see our sin and our pain, and we mix those things up with our very identity. It's a deep and complex thing that happens in the human soul. So we get to a season like Lent, and maybe it can become like an occasion to feel shame. But God doesn't ask shame of us. He asks for contrition. Shame and contrition are two very, very different things. He asks us to have the spiritual maturity to say, I did a bad thing. I really did. But I'm not that thing. We take ownership of it, but there's an intrinsic separation between us and what we've chosen. This is what he asks of the woman at the well. Love himself meets her where she's at. In shame, in isolation, in sin. And he doesn't treat her like she's her shame and isolation and sin. He loves her in the unique goodness that he created in her from before the beginning of time. And what does she do? She runs to tell anyone that will listen. Come see this man who told me everything I've ever done, but didn't treat me like I was those things. It's a qualitatively different encounter that she has with Jesus than everybody else in that town. Question for this week, for our prayer time: in perfect peace, without any worry, God, do I believe that you're good? This one's a heavier one. Remember, we have to be very gentle with ourselves in these tender interior spaces as we ask these questions. God, do I believe that you're good? Do I meet you like you meet me? Primarily and firstly, in the goodness of your own unique existence. You who are goodness and existence itself. And if not, why? Show me the lies that I've believed about you. Show me the disappointment or the hurt or the shame that I've put onto you. This false image that I've believed. And help me to see the truth. Sit with him in prayer in that space and just let him show you his goodness.